Part of my reporter update, there have been a lot of questions from board members and others about where we are in the transitions and supporting families and students from the schools that are closing into other schools. And I'm going to have Denise Sadler come give us an update on those transitions.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith, board members, staff, members of the audience. I'm Denise Sadler, I'm the Director of Transitions, and I'm pleased to give you an update this evening. I first want to mention that there are I have a team of people who've been working with me who are actually experienced administrators, retired administrators, and parent involvement specialists. And what we have been doing since October 27th is we have been working with over 900 families to support them through the transition process. Our charge was to meet with all the parents of the 906 students who would have to move on to another school. The schools that are closing are Lakeview, Lazier, Marshall, Maxwell Park, and Santa Fe. And to be very specific about the update on our meetings, I want you to know that we met with, out of the 245 parents at Lakeview, we've met with 235 to date. At Lazier, we met with 100% of the parents, 215. At Marshall, we met with 105 parents, that's 100% of the parents there. At Maxwell Park, we have one parent who actually is at home, has been hospitalized, where we have 99% of those parents, 182 out of 183. And at Santa Fe, we met with 152 of the 158 parents. So overall, we have met with 98% of the 906 parents that are slated to move on to new schools. Now, what did we do? We hosted meetings for parents at all 5 sites closing. We focused on listening and asking questions. We took notes. We shared parent surveys. We took information from parents. We provided information. We had translators present. We had child care provided. We had sign-ups for individual appointments, and most of these appointments were 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, or sometimes an hour. We documented these appointments for follow-up if needed. Now, how did we connect with those families? We were at school sites from 7:30 in the morning to most evenings at 7:30 at night. We had community meetings. We had Saturday meetings. We met people at curbside drop-off, curbside pickup. We interfaced with after-school programs. And I actually want to highlight the connection. You heard Ms. Howard talk about the connection with the after-school programs. The after-school programs at these sites were absolutely instrumental in supporting the communication with parents. And I really want to underscore the after-school staff at Marshall, Maxwell Park, Lazier, and Santa Fe in particular, who really, really outreached and worked with families and worked side by side with my staff to really support families in this process. We connected with parents through reminders. You heard School Messenger mentioned this evening. School Messenger has absolutely been a tremendous resource for our families. And so we made special calls to each one of the communities. I also want to highlight, we had the secretary at Santa Fe, who was very, very involved, came into our Saturday training and stayed with us the whole time, and actually did another messenger that morning. And in fact, that Santa Fe Saturday, December 3rd, we were able to reach 40 parents through that process. So we've had district staff, community people, after-school staff that have worked closely with us. We made phone calls. We set appointments, and we called our families the night before to remind them of the phone calls. We called them in the morning if they missed their appointment to see if we could reschedule. We used traditional, most people give cell phones now, so we text our families to remind them, remember you have an appointment. We used all those resources. We did home mailings. And we did it the old-fashioned way, where we had to fold all these letters and sent them out and put labels and got those to families. Our materials were available in several languages, and we targeted the languages at each of the schools. We had small group meetings based on request. And I really want to say we had several families who wanted to come at the same time. They were cousins, they might have similar language needs, and we found that very effective. We did home visits. We went to the homes, and that was not a barrier for us to provide that service and support for families. We even had families ask us to meet at specific locations that were convenient to them. We did that, as well as we worked very closely with teachers who were very instrumental. Teachers know their families, know their latest numbers, they know their situations, and that was also a resource. School site principals were invaluable to us, and our school secretaries. Now, what we learned from listening and observing, we learned that some parents that we had a spectrum. Some parents had really studied the materials and came very, very prepared with their choices and very knowledgeable about what they wanted to do. Others wanted to take a look at the large map we provided at our sites and wanted to review the maps and ask questions about specific schools. Others needed to go back and think about it again. Many parents used a matrix of service documents to think about their choices, to think about what services they actually wanted for their students. We found that we had initially planned to have an options fairs, and many of our parents said, we really don't, that's something that we're really not interested in. We'd really like to spend more time talking to people, so that's something that we dropped based on their counsel. Parents also appreciated the opportunity to actually come to the school site to have these meetings as opposed to going to the student assignment office. We heard that over and over again. Thank you for having these meetings right at the site. And I just wanted to mention some of the comments that parents made, and we actually wrote down their comments. We asked their reflections after meetings. One parent said, I want to make sure that there is an after-school program wherever I go. The process for transition is very professional. This has been a pretty straightforward process. I appreciated receiving phone calls. Another one said, I'm the driver. I have a group of cousins that need to go to the same school. Can you make sure that we're all in the same school? These were the kind of comments that came up during our discussion. And the most common questions that we heard were, will my new school be closed? And will I have to go through this again? That was a question people asked quite a bit. When will I know when my school, which school my child will attend? Another question was, what will happen to the teachers and the principal? What will happen to the actual facility? And lastly, are there any plans on ways we can get to the new site and thinking about how children can go to the site as a group? We learned from this experience a lot of things. There were many discussions in these meetings, which I consider value-added discussions with these conferences. We had opportunities to share resources. We found out new addresses and phone numbers, and we were able to make those changes and give that to the site, which are now in the system. We found out things from needs around screening for immunizations to parents needing information about how to enroll incoming kindergartners and what would happen to fifth graders going to middle schools. And so people appreciated getting specific information. And clearly we learned that people needed different kinds of information, and we made some assumptions about what that information would be and what our activities would be. And a learning from that is that we needed to really listen to the needs first and then design the activities after hearing what those needs are. Now, what are our next steps? We plan to have additional bus tours. Initially, we did not have a lot of sign-ups for bus tours at our community meetings, and we kind of waited on that, and then we decided to have some bus tours, and we want to, the second week of January, we're going to have additional bus tours. Our principals were very welcoming where we had them, and it was a good experience, so we want to continue that process in January. We will also be working with receiving schools on co-constructing specific activities to welcome students to their new schools. That's something we're very excited about. And we want to continue our reflections on the process, planning the specific activities, thinking about how we can assist and support. We are very open to feedback from our community, very open to feedback from the staff, and that's why we took time to take down comments that people made during the process. I'm very pleased that our staff was able to get to 98% of the 906 students that we serve. It was a lot to do in a very short amount of time. We will be following these students through the rest of the school year and on to the first day of school. So, Mr. Superintendent, that's my update. I look forward to coming back and giving you more information.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sadler. Appreciate it.